And let me welcome you all. My name is Deborah Gallant. This is the EforAll Monthly Deep Dive. It's going to be a little bit different this time because I'm going to do a little bit of a presentation and we're going to have a little bit of a panel discussion, but there should be time at the end for folks to ask their questions. So I hope you'll hang in with us. We'll be here for about an hour and a half. Here's the opening bookend. So here we go. This deep dive series today is about networking for success. I'm going to share some best practices, and then we're going to hear from some alumni about how they've used the network to build their business. EforAll in Berkshire County would not be possible without these very generous sponsors. As all of you know, EforAll's programs are all completely free of charge because of the generosity of these sponsors. Sometimes we get folks who jumped on here because they've seen us posted on social media and they're like, what is EforAll? I just wanted to come to a webinar to learn about X, Y, or Z. So I always like to stick a slide in here that just reminds people, and I'm sure we're going to hear more about this from our panelists, but EforAll is a hidden gem in our communities. We're in about 15 communities now. Over 700 businesses have been started by our alumni, and 70% are still in business at 3 years, which is 8 percentage points above the US average. We have pitch contests, we have accelerators, we have lots of great programs, and we encourage you to take advantage of them in your community, wherever it is that you are. And if there isn't one near you, let us know and maybe we'll start one. These deep dives are every month. They are archived. So we were talking earlier, and Jennifer watched one on in the recording at eforall.org. You can see all of the monthly programs. We've been doing them for about a year. And some of the really popular ones are hiring your first employee, getting certified as a minority and woman-owned business, cybersecurity, negotiation skills. Next month, you'll be able to join me on October 18th. We'll be learning about building your sales pipeline because no one ever has enough prospects in their sales pipeline, including EforAll. So I hope to learn some things. And then there's a fantastic organization called Forge, who's going to be teaching us about how you start manufacturing things without it making you crazy by doing it locally. So they're going to be in November, and we are trying to decide December whether we're going to take a break or try to do a program in December, but we'll definitely be back in January. And I just want to put in a good word for a program that we're going to be doing here at EforAll Berkshire County coming up in October. We are bringing panels of experts together, and even though it's a Berkshire County program, you can log on from anywhere because it's virtual and get access to expert advice. So if you've been reluctant to call your lawyer because you don't want to pay $350 an hour, we're going to have lawyers for you talking about intellectual property, about contracts, about corporate entities. We're going to have accountants talking about valuation, financial reporting, tax issues. We're going to have marketers talking about social media. You name it, we are covering all of it, and you can check it out at EFA Ask the Expert. So here's what we're going to try to accomplish today is I'm going to actually keep presenting, and I'm going to give you some networking fundamentals. Then I'm going to open it up to our panel, and we're going to let them each tell their story and how networking, and particularly networking through EforAll, has helped build their businesses. And I'm pretty sure we're going to have some great stories here. And then we're going to open it up to Q&A and discussion. So Allison, if you can just monitor the chat, and if I need to stop and answer any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I am going to keep on rolling. All right, so I put together kind of a simplistic approach to networking fundamentals. I am a business coach, and I actively was a business coach before I started working at EforAll. And I've been teaching people these networking skills for a really long time. And I teach them for both small businesses and for careers. And I get some similar questions from both of those audiences. And I put it together into what I would call the networking fundamentals. So hopefully you guys are seeing that, and we'll move on. What is networking anyway? It's, well, pretty easy: to interact or engage in informal communication with others for mutual assistance or support. And this is really important. This is not just about using LinkedIn or Facebook, though I use both of them and I think they're great. And yes, even as a business coach, I did get clients just from using LinkedIn or Facebook. This is about making real connection with people. And you can initially connect with them on LinkedIn or Facebook, but it really doesn't replace the fundamental need to connect with people and be deliberative about building that relationship. Having somebody as a LinkedIn contact doesn't necessarily indicate that you've really networked and connected with them. And we all do this anyway. We connect with other people all the time to get what we need, whether it's finding a roommate, selling a used car, borrowing a lawnmower. One of my favorite networking stories is from when I lived in Southern California. I had an across the street neighbor who had 3 kids he needed to get to school, and his vehicle was a motorcycle with a sidecar, and he couldn't get his kids to school. Well, my husband's boss had a car sitting in his driveway that had not been re-registered in 3 years because he'd lost the paperwork from it when he moved from New Jersey. And this guy with the motorcycle, as absurd as this seems, actually knew somebody at the New Jersey DMV and was able to connect with Bill's contact with the car, get the paperwork, and he bought the car for like $500. It got it out of his driveway. It got the guy off the motorcycle with the sidecar. People can network. Of course, who was the glue there? That was me, seeing that Marcus needed a vehicle and that Bill had one sitting in his driveway. But people network all the time. What I find is that people are usually glad to help. And you are, certainly when the tables are turned. And when you hear about our presenters today, you'll hear about how networking is mutual and how they do help back and forth. But sometimes when it's about business, people find this hard to do. Here's some of the reasons I've heard. You feel needy. It can be about money, which can make it awkward. The stakes feel very high. It's like you're asking for something from someone and you don't want to put people on the spot. So when people are like, oh, I don't want to ask them if they know anybody who needs this, or this, because that, they'll feel like I'm a deer in headlights. I think most people are happy to network, but you have to get out of the house. You have to know what you want, and you have to be able to explain it and communicate it well. If you can do those things, it's really natural to network pretty much everywhere you are. Now, if anyone here, and I know there's about 20 or 25 of you on the call, you may have a story, right? How did you get to be doing this? You got laid off, you're starting this new business, but you've never done this before. No one cares about your sob story. In networking, you have to start with a very positive and upbeat point of view. You have to believe in yourself. You have to be confident. And you only get that one chance to make a first impression. So you need to put on your best smile, your best demeanor, and have upbeat, positive things to say in every one of your networking interactions. And I think a lot of people find networking hard because they don't have a strong or a clear message. If you've been through EforAll and you don't have a strong or a clear message, it was because you weren't paying attention. EforAll helps you tell your story effectively. But you also, part 2 of this is understanding what you want to get out of the interaction. And it may not be a customer every time. Maybe it's opening doors. Maybe it's making connections. Maybe it's spreading the word about your business. But until you figure out what you're trying to get out of it, other than just a new customer, you're not going to be able to successfully network. Because if you stop and say to somebody, I don't know if anyone here has been on a networking, at a networking event, the absolute stereotype of this is a mortgage broker or a real estate agent, and they always want to know, are you buying or selling a house? Because they only care about talking about people who can have a mortgage. Well, the reality is lots of people know lots of other people. So what you're trying to do is develop a relationship with someone so they start thinking about who they can introduce you to. And it's not binary. You don't want to make it into a yes or no. Like, no, I'm not looking to buy a house, so I don't need to talk to you. I don't need to talk to a mortgage broker this week. Well, maybe it'll be a good thing to have a mortgage broker in your back pocket for some point in the future when you do need that. So you have to stop turning it into a yes or no interaction and more of a, Who do you know? Let's get to know each other. How can I help you? And a real dialogue. You need to observe social norms when you're meeting somebody. You can't just blurt out what you do, but you do need to be able to clearly state it so it can be understood by anyone. And don't try to close anyone on a first contact. If you try to do that, you're going to come across as too pushy. I have to tell you this story because it was just crazy. When I was living in Southern California, and I met a guy who was he was selling insurance. I think it was life insurance from one of the big companies. He came to the meeting with a printout of all of my LinkedIn contacts on a piece of paper. And he put it down in front of me and he said, will you circle the people here who I should contact and tell them that you told me to contact them so I can sell them life insurance? And I'm like, are you kidding me? I actually reported him to his boss. That was so unethical. You need to develop relationships with people so they want to give you business. They want to see what you do. But somebody doing that really has overstepped the bounds of a social norm about how to do it. So again, you start with a great message, being clear, confident, and consistent with every contact. So this is actually interesting. I went to a networking event on Saturday. Can I tell you how many people didn't have an email address on their card? There was another one, has a typo on the card. This is not setting the right impression. You need everything to be clear, consistent, comprehensive, well thought out, and you're not going to help yourself by doing that. All right. Now, here's another thing that many people don't think about, and I'll be interested to hear when we get to our stories from our spotlight entrepreneurs, that the most effective contacts in your network may be ones that have nothing to do with your business. I'm going to say that one again. The most effective contacts in your network may be ones that have nothing to do with your business. This is talking to the other parents at the sidelines of a soccer game. This is talking to people in the back of church on a Sunday. This is about seeing who's in your alumni network, because sometimes doors that open aren't the ones that are the most obvious and aren't at a Chamber of Commerce networking event. So that's using family, neighbors, alumni, church members, neighbors, professional associates. My daughter, when she was little, she's 24 now, and would be totally embarrassed that I'm telling you this story. But I used to have a game called Bunko, and my friends would walk in and my daughter would act as my agent and give them all my business card and my flyer. Now, I'm pretty sure they knew what I did, but she was busy working the crowd for me. I don't know what turned out of it. My mother actually sends me clients all the time. She meets people and they go, oh, you know who you need to talk to? My daughter, the business coach. That works because people have natural connections with each other. The other thing I strongly encourage you to think about is who you know who's a center of influence. There's probably someone who, when you meet them for lunch, they have to work the room before they get to the table in the restaurant, or they have a long Christmas list, or maybe is the EforAll executive director or program manager, right? Amanda knows everybody on Cape Cod who's anybody. Samia and Donna know everybody in the South Coast. Those are people who, when you want to talk to someone, I really need a lawyer to talk to. I really need this. I really need that. They know lots of people. So what you want to do is harness their networks and have them do introductions for you. The other thing I'll say about introductions like this is, I did one just a few minutes before this call. I knew that person A needed to talk to person B, and I always get in the middle, do an email introduction so that the two people know that I am a genuine connector, and that can open a lot of doors and create a lot of great relationships. And I believe if you have a clear message, it's comfortable and natural for you to make connections with people wherever you are. Now, one of the things you can do is be pretty strategic about going to events and places where the people you want to meet are hanging out. It's called fishing where the fish are. When I teach this class with career folks, let's say you want to go work at Amgen in Thousand Oaks. That's where I lived before, in Thousand Oaks. I would tell them to go sit in the Chipotle that's the closest to Amgen and read people's badges when they walked in. That's the kind of thing. They actually get bonuses if they bring new employees in. So being where they are is what you want to do. And you have to figure out where the people who can help you and move your business forward, whatever it is that you're looking for. Again, always have a business card with you. It may be old-fashioned. I still believe these work. I could not believe the number of people at a networking event who didn't have them with them. It should always be in your purse or your wallet, in your gym bag, at a party, when you eat out. This is your opportunity to do follow-up. And if you miss that chance, you will have lost the opportunity to follow up with a contact. Because remember, it's not happening at the first time, it's later on. So thinking about who you want to meet and seeking out your own opportunities will increase the ability of networking events to work for you. They're magnets or people who are ready, willing, and able to reciprocate. If they came to an event that's called a networking event, they want to meet people. So don't just go places where there are people like you, but seek out other people and get chances to tell your story. Now, when you make a connection with people, you don't really just want to collect a bunch of business cards. A bunch of business cards is just a bunch of business cards. What you want to get is an opportunity to have a follow-up conversation or appointment with someone. And I'll be interested to hear from our presenters, whether they do those always in person or they do them in phone or virtual via Zoom. But if you can leave an event making one great connection, that's an okay hit rate if it really leads to something, if it opens the door, creates a business relationship, gets you a client. But remember, you're not going to close the deal at the networking event. And I believe if you ask for what you want and you tell enough people, you will get it. So I'm going to stop sharing that. I don't know. Let me just ask the presenters, Jennifer, Serafina, and Liam, do you have any sort of reaction to my slides before we do the formal introductions and you get your time to talk? I don't want to say anything positive.
I can say something. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Jennifer.
Oh, no worries. Thank you. First and foremost, those were excellent slides and, definitely very helpful to reiterate, some of those key points that are just really, really important and the different ways to network, because all of those things combined is what makes networking so strong and being able to do it in so many different platforms. And, it was just very well orchestrated.
Thank you. Serafina?
Yeah, I was just going to say that it's so important to understand where you are and what the goal of that event is. So if it's a networking event, it's not the sales event. If it's a sales meeting, you're not just there to chit chat. Like, just knowing those two very different dynamics in a meeting is key. I hate it when people try to sell me when I just got their business card 4 seconds ago.
And you've all met that mortgage broker, right? Liam,
many times.
Did you have any reaction to the slides?
No, I think it's a great start to get people understanding what the point of all this is. I mean, we're all here today for networking. So, it's great just kind of get the bottom line in.
Great. So in fact, I think you're making a really good point. Paula's asking, will you get the slides? Yes, I will send the slides and I will send the link to the recording. So everyone who's here will get it, as well as some folks who registered who weren't able to come. After I have the presenters do their story, I'm gonna see if there's time for us to unmute everybody on the call and for you all to meet each other, because I would love for some cool networking connections to have come from this event as well. But I do really want to honor the fact that these three presenters have agreed to tell us their story. So they're going to tell you a little bit about their business and then specifically how networking has helped them move forward. So Jennifer, if the crashes are gone in your background, you're up.
Thank you. Yes, of course, that one moment nobody was in my house or behind me, my youngest son comes running behind me and just slams stuff. So of course that happens, right?
That happens
So, yeah.
Zoom all the time.
Oh, absolutely. So again, thank you very much for having me. And to just go back to your point with networking and my business. So you would like me to just talk about my business and what it is I do?
Tell them what your business is, how it got started at EforAll, and then specifically how how networking has helped you move it forward, just in a sort of a 10 or 15-minute introduction.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, thank you. My name is Jennifer Potter. I am the president of Mamas and Babysitters. We are a professional babysitting and nannying company, as well as a babysitting agency. We have lots and lots of services that we offer on top of babysitting and nannying. And I started this company actually simultaneously with another company that I did to get through EforAll. So I actually owned a t-shirt company, but I wasn't ready to tell the world that I was working on this company. And so I kept it super, super quiet. The only people that really knew about it were Donna and Samia. And I went through EforAll with my t-shirt company because I wanted to learn the ins and outs of businesses. I already started another company prior to that, but it was more so for the connections, right? We talk about networking. It was more so for the connections. I started something else that's very similar called South Coast Mamas and Babies prior to all of this, but I did it to connect families with families and families with businesses. So I kind of already pre-planted my own networking group for this company. And I did it on purpose. But then I started an inspirational teacher company through EforAll. And I did that to learn, how to network more, efficiently, how to connect with other people in business. I didn't know a lawyer. I didn't know, how to fully do everything with accounting. I knew that I'm a serial entrepreneur and I like to start businesses, and which we talked about before. We're starting another one with someone here with EforAll. And I just didn't know how to connect it all. And so by being able to go through the EforAll program, and then start this other company, I felt so much more confident in my ability to run a company the size of my company is. I started it almost 2 years ago, and a year ago, October 1st, I have 30 employees to date. I started with one, I finished 2020 with 5, and I have about 30 internal. I've hired over 100 people during the pandemic, which is incredible to say. I get goosebumps when I think about it, just being able to offer that to people during such a hard time, but also being able to offer a service for families to be able to work. And I think that that's really important too, is being able to give our services for unique situations, for networking or working from home, or any of those things that have kind of happened through the pandemic, because we're still kind of riding through it, right? And you talked about the importance of networking in person or versus networking online. Of course, we've all networked till we were blue in the face on Zoom. And by the time, the world opened up, we're like, I can't do this anymore. I need to sit with somebody, right? But we opened a new door. And just like this call, we're all able to sit in different places throughout the area and be able to connect. And I think, the pandemic has taught us, if anything, we can now connect throughout all different types of platforms. But being in person is super important, because now they can see you, you're real. You're able to really make that interpersonal connection, having coffee with them, talking about things that are personal, not necessarily just about business. It's just not, the guy who approached you who's trying to sell you right out the gate. I'm not trying to sell my business to anyone who doesn't need it. I want to connect with you as a person so I can trust you. And, throughout the pandemic, I feel like I was able to create a lot of those connections, which I think is amazing. And most of them stemmed from my EforAll family. We all pretty much we created a weekly networking group, and 90% of the people that attended were all from EforAll. And they became some of my closest friends through the pandemic, but also the people that I refer. None of our businesses have anything to do with each other, but I know that I can trust this person. So being able to establish the trust, being able to understand who they are as a person. So I'm not selling you on their business, I'm selling you on them. And that's really important to me as a businesswoman, is being able to trust that person. When I turn around and I say, hey, I'm going to sell to, Jen Rigo, she's amazing. And I know she's on the call, but, I can turn around and I can say, I stand by whatever she says, because I know her as a person. And it's through EforAll.
And you were able to build that trust. So Jen, can you give us any insight on how you found 100 employees? It must have been networking as part of that, right?
Yes. Lots of networking, lots of telling everybody, hey, if you know anyone who's looking for a job, we have part-time hours. We hire, anyone who really wants to be in childcare. Social media, has played a huge part during our hiring process. And, we hire between the ages of 20 and 30 typically. I don't discriminate against any age. You have to just be over the age of 18. And a lot of that is for legal purposes, for liability insurance, both internally and externally. And, we do LinkedIn, not so much, but more so social media, Facebook, Indeed, just all the different platforms that hit all the different age groups. And I feel like that has helped immensely, because now people in my networking groups are seeing that I'm posting stuff throughout social media. They're referring other people. I think the first 10 employees I had, they were friends of someone I knew through networking.
That's great.
Yeah, so it was
Is there
incredible.
anything else in general you want to talk about how Mamas and Babysitters has gotten successful through networking before I pass it off to the next person?
I think, going back to that, being able to create a name for yourself, but also being able to create, the trust in the community, that, I'm making the connections with people that I know so they can trust me and trust my business. When I have clients reach out to me, they're like, "Oh, I heard from such and such that I should be using your services." And, when I tell them these are all the things I do, and the response is, "Oh no, if you hired them, I trust you. I trust your judgment." And to me, that holds a lot of weight, because I have built that trust through all the different networking platforms that I have created and, continue to create. And, you just don't create it and stop it. I think it's important to always remember that you always have to keep doing it. You have to always keep going out there. If you're uncomfortable, I looked at some of the questions that we talked about previously, being uncomfortable, not wanting to be in public, being, feeling out of your element. That's the best place for you to be, because you're going to meet somebody new and you're going to create a new link. And every time you do that, it just keeps expanding it over time. It takes time. It took me a long time, but the ride is where it's at.
Thanks. That's a great start. Liam, I'm going to put you on next and talk about being out of his comfort zone. Liam will tell you he is not a natural extrovert public speaker, and yet networking has worked incredibly well for him. So Liam, why don't you tell them your EforAll and your business story, and then how networking has helped you?
Great. Thank you, Deborah, first of all, for putting this on. I think it's a great opportunity for everybody to get to know each other and to hear all these stories. It's really kind of inspiring, as usual. Anyway, so CosQuest is a new way to connect consumers with businesses. Essentially, I've gamified the process of exploring your community by building treasure hunts. So you go to, right now it's a website, which hopefully will be upgraded to an app by the end of November. But essentially I had this idea a couple of years ago, no concept of actually how to pull it off. So I joined EforAll as a networking opportunity to potentially meet a tech person or a money person to pay a tech person. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. But what did happen is I was able to build my MVP just on a whim. I realized I could probably build it myself. Didn't have to be an app. It could be a website. And I think it was during our progress pitch about midway through when I told everybody I was building this MVP. Somebody was on the call who happened to work for the local Chamber of Commerce here, and they liked the idea and decided that they wanted to try to give it a shot for Small Business Saturday last year. And it's kind of been a big snowball rolling down the hill since then. I've been able to do probably 24 treasure hunts at this point by now in all around Berkshire County. I've worked with Mass MoCA and Norman Rockwell Museum and Hancock Shaker Village. But basically I'm creating a network all my own, just through friends of friends. I've been making a lot of cold calls. Cold calls actually do work. I've been able to create a network of sponsors who have sponsored a lot of these events. In addition to all the brick and mortar small businesses that I've included on my treasure hunt, I realized and saw that during the pandemic, a lot of people were doing online businesses. So once COVID kind of calmed down a little bit, I started putting on these makers markets. So a lot of the artists and craftsmen and and artisans in the area, I've been able to pretty regularly, like once a month, put on these markets that would also be a part of the treasure hunt. So in the past 8 or 9 months, I've worked with over 100 small businesses. I've gotten over 1,000 people out and about exploring the Berkshires in this fun new way. And yeah, it really all started with EforAll and the one woman who wanted to take a chance on a wonky little website that's still pretty wonky, but like I said, hopefully the app will come
It
together.
works great. It's fine. So let me just point out, so Liam was in our cohort. He presented in October his progress pitch. The woman from downtown Pittsfield Inc. saw him, and in less than a month, he had to turn around and run a Black Friday downtown Pittsfield treasure hunt. And he used the MVP, which most people from EforAll probably know is minimum viable product. He didn't wait for perfection. He did a good enough version, and the good enough version is still working good enough. So he's on a roll. Hopefully it will become an app. But honestly, it was that one first contact with that downtown Pittsfield Inc. and his sort of taking the gauntlet when it was thrown out to him and saying, all right, I'm going to try this. And then it became a little bit of a snowball effect in that the other sites, the Hancock Shaker Village, the Norman Rockwell Museum, they saw proof of concept in the first one, and that was as good as any endorsement of what he was doing, and he was able to do the others. So Liam, any other thoughts about how networking has worked for CosQuest?
Well, for me personally, it's just what I've learned over the past few months is, like Deborah said, I'm not the most outgoing individual. I'm slightly shy and introverted, but for 5 minutes, I can put on a more forward-facing face and at least be confident for 5 minutes to try to get the word out. And I'm lucky that people get the idea pretty much as soon as they hear it, and they kind of want to be a part of it. So that helps a lot, that it doesn't take rocket scientists to quite understand why this works and how it works. But yeah, I mean, it's just building. I've had to build so many different networks between the businesses, between the sponsors, between users. It's just really been kind of a crazy experience, and you just need to have the confidence to go out and do it.
Great, thanks. I think one of the things about networking is that it blows up this myth of the strong, independent business person who's going to do it all themselves. It's like, if you were going to do it all yourself, how would you get employees? How would you get clients? Nothing is on your own. And if you've been part of EforAll, you've met and opened up your network and have all of these connections and resources, and you'd be silly not to use them, right? You do something with them. So Serafina, I bet you have a great story. Amanda's a big fan of yours and she suggested you. Why don't you tell us your story?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to come and speak. My name is Serafina Churchill. I'm coming to you from Cape Cod, and my company is called Images by Serafina. And I will say that when I first started networking, before I was in EforAll, I would say, I'm Serafina Churchill from Cape Cod. I'm a photographer and graphic designer.
What was
That's
that?
so fast, right? There's so many syllables. They're all kind of mushed together. I was terrified. And I just assumed, like, my 1 minute pitch, I can do it in 10 seconds and I win. That's what I thought. And it was ineffective because people heard essentially a bunch of sounds, photographer, Cape Cod, and that's all anyone would ever hear. So then I'd spend the rest of the conversation explaining that I don't photograph weddings. I don't photograph families in matching outfits on the beach. I actually work with small businesses to help them with their image library for their brand. I create logos and print materials and things like that. And so what I learned through EforAll was to slow down and to just tell you, my company is a virtual art department for solopreneurs and small businesses that don't have access to an art department in-house. Boom.
Oh, well done.
Starts the networking off real simple, real easy. Everyone knows what I do. And then the conversation can move forward from there. I started networking within just the EforAll folks here on the Cape. And then this thing happened on a global scale that forced everyone to go to Zoom. So I learned quickly that the graphic design side of my business is offerable digitally. I can serve people anywhere, everywhere. And I started networking constantly on Zoom. And I have met amazing people all over the country because of it. And I've been able to gain clients all over the country because of that. But oftentimes my clients are not the people I met on that networking call that day. They're usually referred to me by people I met on that networking call. So honestly, I see the folks I meet in networking often as almost miniature salespeople for me. Like they're not necessarily my client, but they know 5 people who might need my services. And that is something that I try to foster. So anyone I know I'm enjoying talking to, don't care what business they're in. They could be that mortgage broker or that, what was the other example? Financial
Insurance
advisor or
salesperson. Yeah.
insurance, right? I have all those things. I don't need them right now. They don't need me. They work for these giant companies, but they might know other people. If I enjoy the conversation, that's all that matters. So I always try to follow up and ask for a one-to-one meeting. So I try to connect with them, if they're local to me, let's go out for coffee, half hour, 45 minutes, let's just chat. It's not a sales pitch. I'm just wanting to get to know you a little better. If you're a little further away from me, then yes, it ends up being on Zoom unless someone is really anti-Zoom, and then I'll do it on the phone. And then afterwards, I do a little super sleuthing on the internet and I find out either a work or usually a work address, but if home address is what I find, I send them a card.
Oh my God, how
I
old
send them an
fashioned is
actual
that?
hello or thank you card in
I'll
the
give you
mail.
my address. I want one.
So I send folks, and I just thank you for your time. It was really nice to get to know you. Really nice to meet you. People love getting cards in the mail. This has been huge. It's a really minimal investment in my time. It's a couple of minutes. Send it in the mail. It's the cost of a stamp. I had a bunch of these cards printed out. I designed them, so they're not something you're going to see at the store. They're not going to look like any other card you get in the mail. They're really specific to my business. So therefore, I stick out and people remember. They leave the card on their desk, and on the back is my email address. So if they ever need to reach me in 6 months or whatever, they'll find a way.
That's beautiful. I love that. Boy, if you guys are waiting for a takeaway, there's your takeaway. That is just beautiful.
Mail, old fashioned, old school mail, handwritten. Everybody loves it.
That's gorgeous. I want to say a couple of things about what you said, and I want to see if you have any other comments. One of my favorite tips about the messaging when you're talking about elevator pitch, this is aside from just your EforAll pitch, is if you can make your networking conversation interesting enough that people say, tell me more, or give me an example, or that sounds really interesting, then you have actually captured their attention. So you don't want to, like they call it, spill the popcorn in the lobby, tell them everything up front, because then it sounds like what you said at the beginning, Serafina. But the way you said what you said, it's like, oh, give me an example of somebody. Did you do the Cape Cod coffee shoot? Did you, like now you could tell me about a company that you helped with that graphic design and those images, and I want to know more, right?
That's always good. If they want to talk to me, that's even better. Yeah.
That's terrific. Do you have anything else you want to check in about in terms of how networking has helped your business?
Just that remembering that it may not be the direct connection that you made, but an indirect connection, and to always thank people if they have referred you to someone else, whether that worked out as a sale or not. Always, always, always either send a card or do something for them selflessly. Say thank you so much for appreciating what I do and thinking of me. Like
I think that's
being grateful
actually
is huge.
Super important. And I probably should have even put that in the slides, because if someone does that introduction for you and it opens the door, I've had people actually get jobs because of introductions that I did. And one of the people drove to my house with a gift basket, and one of them pretended she didn't know me when I saw her at the gym. And it's like, well, who do you think I still am friends with, and who am I not friends with, right? I help people get jobs. It's the least they can do is say thank you, send a note, some acknowledgement of the connection helped me in some way. So that's great. Okay, I want, if everyone feels comfortable, for everyone to put their camera on. I'm going to call on everyone and I'm going to give you the chance to do that 30-second, 1-minute pitch so everyone can see who everyone else is in the room, and maybe some great connections can be made here before we start the Q&A. And maybe the Q&A will be to people who aren't actually the presenters. So I'm going to start in my upper left-hand corner. Alan Rubin, has to be short. You can't tell your whole story, but you can give me a minute of it. You can unmute and tell your story.
Well, I think the most important thing is to, as you just said, is to thank people. I would often send customers to a competitor because I knew they had something that I didn't have. And my salesman used to say, "You're crazy." I said, "No, we're not in the business of selling merchandise. We're in the business of satisfying customers. And if you help them out, they'll remember that it was you." And I found that to be very successful over the careers, and that worked out no matter what I did. I mean, I do mentoring for EforAll. I was, until I retired, I had coached soccer goalkeepers for 15 years, and I would often help them work with a different coach because he had some background that I didn't have. So people appreciate when you're actually doing something for them, and the ones that don't, you know, you can't please everybody.
They're not your ideal customers, so move along. Thank you, Alan, and thank you for your service to EforAll. We're always delighted to see you. Fawn Anderson, please introduce yourself and tell us your pitch.
I totally didn't expect to get picked on. Hi, I'm Fawn. Thank you. My pitch. I'm here to create a more compassionate and friendly world while getting rid of the loneliness epidemic and providing a society that's balanced socially, economically, and all the strife that people of color go through, bringing a balance to that all through the art of friendship. And my whole goal initially was to bring people outside of their homes and connect with them within their own zip codes. We had a whole like eHarmony type situation for platonic friendships. And once the pandemic happened, we launched our podcast and we went from 0 visibility to right now we're the top 5% of all podcasts around the world. We have countries from all over the world listening, and it's all about conversation and connection. What am I supposed to say? What?
That's you said it. It's no problem. And Fawn, you're from our Longmont site, right? Correct?
I am. How did you know? Yes, I am.
Because Harris mentioned your idea, because I thought it was so intriguing. Thank you so much for sharing, and thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for listening.
Okay, Matthew Daniels.
Hey everybody, my name is Matthew Daniels, and I'm a co-owner of Dazed and Infused Baking Company. We do small batch cannabis infused edibles. We actually had to pivot because the cost of getting licensed in Massachusetts is about $500,000 on the low end. Yeah, so our MVP is a non-infused product called Untokables. They're like a cereal treat, like think of Rice Krispies treats, but they look like cannabis buds. So they mimic the look of cannabis buds. And
they're super delicious.
Yes, that's my co-owner, my wife next to me. They are delicious. But the whole point of it is we want to, lessen the stigmas surrounding cannabis and also surrounding mental illness and people treating their mental illnesses using cannabis. So, that's a lot of what we're going to be trying to do too.
Interesting. And which site are you from?
South Coast, Massachusetts.
Welcome, Matthew. Allison, why don't you introduce yourself? I was remiss in not doing that before.
Hi, everybody. I am Allison. I am the program manager at the Berkshire County EforAll site. Today is my very first day, so just taking it all in. But thank you guys so much for being here.
Great, thank you. Lunara?
Hi, everyone. It's so nice to connect. I am from Lawrence, Massachusetts, so I've heard about EforAll, and I always wanted to come by and just, check you guys out. I work for my dad's construction company. So that's not exactly a startup, but I am my own branch. I have to do my own networking, of course, and I can find all of my own clients. And then, so what do? We design and build. So I will go measure your house, draft it. We have the people that will do the construction. And then, oh, and I also reinstated my real estate license this year.
Great.
So,
Boy, networking is really important for realtors. Yeah, good for
I'll buy
you.
a property, design it, sell it. So that's what, and I just wanted to, come by and connect with you guys and just let you know that we're here, MDJ Inc. in Lawrence, and it sounds like all of everything that you guys are doing, I'm just like, I need that too.
So drop your URL or your social media handles. Everybody should feel free to do that in the chat so we can all get in touch with each other. And you are more than welcome. This is not a strictly EforAll event, though it was meant to help EforAll alumni. We're happy to welcome anybody from the community. So welcome.
Refining the tips. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Lennar. Vaughn Marie, and now she wrote Lovely Events by Vaughn, because I know you only wear 14 hats, Vaughn, but I know you as somebody who works for EforAll. Tell us about you.
Yes, thanks, Deborah. So I'm Vaughn. I am the wedding event planner and owner of Lovely Events by Vaughn. I also went through the program, which Deborah, I think, did you know that?
No.
Yes. So I actually went through the program myself for Lovely Events by Vaughn. And as you could imagine, I said it in the title, I'm a wedding planner. And when I came into EforAll, I was definitely doing, because as a wedding planner, you definitely have to do the whole networking thing. But I'm like a closet introvert. So it was always like very cringy when it came to networking. But going through the program actually really helped me put myself out there, because if I didn't put myself out there, then I was not going to get anywhere. Of course, my program was literally right before the pandemic. So I had to pivot and do a lot of changes. So I actually became an ordained minister. And Deborah, finding out so many things today. So yes, I actually added that as part of my services, but something that I also, going back to networking, something that I started was the South Coast Latina and Black Women in Business. And I myself, I'm Dominican, happy Hispanic Heritage Month. And I think for me, it was mostly finding women that looked like me and kind of, empowering them, connecting them, making sure that everybody's engaged, because a lot of times it feels like, you're either nervous or you just don't know where to find resources or find anybody else that is in the same business or, like-minded women. So I started that during the pandemic and I'm still working on it. And
Do you guys meet in person or just virtually?
I haven't actually set an actual date. So hopefully soon, but it'll probably be virtually right now. And then, because as you know, I do wear 14 hats. And then hopefully at least once a week or something in person. So that's growing very nicely and I'm excited about that.
Fantastic. And Vaughn lives also in the South Coast area, right?
I do. Mm-hmm.
Great. All right, Susan Paul, I see you've been very active in my chat. Tell us about you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Susan Paul, and I'm based in Boston, and I manage Aim High SDC. It's a startup digital consulting firm that helps small business owners find and apply for grants. I focus on the research, strategy, and/or like the application process. And I launched in June 2021 because I realized a lot of small business owners, especially in my community, which is Dorchester, Uplands Corner, the brick and mortars, they didn't realize that there was grant funding available for for-profit businesses, so for businesses like themselves. So I started by just curating the information on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. And now basically people pay me to help them curate a list and or to complete the application on their behalf. Thank you for letting me be here.
And what a great introduction. And Susan, I'm going to ask here by a show of hands, who wants Susan to present a future deep dive on how to get grant money? Yeah, I think I'm going to be booking you, hon.
Thank you. I welcome the opportunity. Yeah, my SCORE mentor actually has encouraged me to do that. Just info sessions to educate more people about grant opportunities, and I'm more than willing.
That would be great. All right, Aaron Myers, it looks like we caught you in the car. I hope you're not driving right now.
I'm driving, but I can walk and chew bubble gum, so I think I could talk and drive. So hello, everyone. My name is Aaron Myers, and I just completed EforAll's Roxbury Summer Business Accelerator. And I'm the co-founder of a trike called Funk. And by form, it is a funky, pimped out, front-loading cargo tricycle that we converted into a mobile DJ unit. But by function, what it does is amplify local businesses who sponsor us, while we also create employment opportunities for artists like ourselves. We come from the world of dance and music, so that they can sustain their livelihoods at the same time.
Will you drive it out to the CosQuest hunt in October? Wouldn't that be great? A mobile DJ, Liam?
Hey, we would love that. And yeah, we don't have to be tethered to an electrical source. So we either do it in motion, like in the context of parades, or we can just pop up anywhere that we can pedal and park. And our mantra is that we are in person, we are in motion, and that includes dance even when we're stationary, and we're always in the groove.
Oh my God.
So we like to bring the funk and bring the fun.
Bring the funk to Pittsfield. All right, Jennifer Rigo. I know that's a hard act to follow. You're probably not bringing any funk, but.
Oh, I bring all the funk.
Oh, all right.
To tell you. Or maybe it's just all the sarcasm and ridiculousness, whichever. So I am Jennifer Rigo. I am the owner of Virtual Admin Solutions. And what started out as the trying to build a VA agency, I was in the EforAll cohort with Vaughn and graduated into a pandemic. Ta-da! So that caused a massive pivot. Only because Vaughn brought it up. I am also an ordained minister, and I am far better than she is. So she knows I love her. I'm teasing. But I do, that did cause a pivot with the pandemic. And so now we are building and maintaining WordPress websites and doing a heck of a lot of social media management for entrepreneurs who don't have the time.
That's great. Thank you, Jennifer. Erin Murphy.
Hi. I'm multitasking. I'm not quite done with my work for today and trying to get some projects done, so forgive me. My name's Erin Murphy. I live in Western Massachusetts in the Berkshires. I've not yet participated in the EforAll opportunities here. I was going to do the last one and missed it by a day. So I have keeping an eye out. We'll get you
next time.
Yeah, I'm keeping an eye out for the next opportunity. I'm a graphic designer here. I've worked for a couple of different places in the Berkshires and then started my own graphic design company a few months ago, although I've freelanced for quite a while. So I have some Berkshire County clients and then kind of clients throughout the country at this time. And I'm thinking of specializing in creating accessible documents for people that have vision and mobility issues. It's something that there's real need for. It's been the law in a lot of places for a long time, but not everybody has necessarily done what they're supposed to. And I think there's going to be a real call to do so. And it's something that's really important to me. So I'm on the cusp of, I'm doing some training and want to become certified, and I'm kind of heading in that direction.
Perfect. Well, and maybe
until then I do sort of regular graphic design.
Go get your certification and then you'll be in our next cohort.
Yeah, exactly.
Great. Mary is in our current cohort, but she also has an 8-month-old baby, so she may not be able to unmute or turn her camera on. Mary, are you available? There she is.
Hi. So my name is Mary Stucklin, and I'm the owner of Tommy's Podcast Service. And this is Tommy. And I provide a service to people who want to compost their food scraps, but do not have the resources, time, or knowledge to do so themselves. So I pick up the compost for them and I bring it to the farm.
Great. Thanks, Mary. Anna Villar, are you there? Maybe she can't unmute.
Are you saying Ayana?
Nope, Ana Villar de Jimenez. Are you there?
Sorry, good afternoon. I'm driving right now, so it's
Okay.
a little complicated over the highway, but I'm Anna. I was thinking of becoming part of an EforAll program. Hearing all your comments is really spiking that interest. So thank you. I currently launched a travel incentive agency, and aside from that, we will be offering services for meetings and events, as well as corporate and leisure travel. And I'm located in the Lawrence area.
Fantastic. Well, welcome, Anna, and thanks for joining us from the car. Susie Robinson, are you able to unmute?
I am. Good afternoon. I'm actually just getting out of the car, so thanks for bearing with me. My name is Susie Robinson. I use pronouns she, her, hers. I am hoping to apply for one of the winter tracks for EforAll. So I've been looking into the organization based on a recommendation from a friend who's actually gone through the program and has raved about it. I currently today am the founder of a brand and business consulting firm called Brand2X. And I'm also co-president of a DE&I social justice organization, a nonprofit called Diversity and Inclusion for Community Empowerment, otherwise known as DICE. My interest in EforAll is to help grow my agency called Brand2X, and we are working with diverse and BIPOC founders, small businesses, and other nonprofits to help brands level up, to help these individuals and small businesses get to the next stage of growth, no matter what stage they're at today. And so, so that's what we do. And
where are you out of, Susie?
I'm based on the South Shore.
Great. Well, welcome to the call. Now, Ayana. I hope I'm saying it right. Ayana Braithwaite.
Yes. Okay. Hold on. Hi.
There you are.
I don't even know why I was eager to go before, because I honestly didn't come on here expecting to speak. But I could just say a little bit about myself. My name is Ayana Braithwaite. I'm the owner of Yana Be Lit. I make soy wax candles by hand. I joined EforAll in 2020, winter of 2020. When I first joined it, I had so much plans on getting my business going. During the program, I learned that I was not as I was more behind in the business world than I thought. But I'm not like a quitter or anything like that. I've been taking time to come up with more ideas. I noticed that there's the candle world, a lot of people are into it. So lately I've been looking at researching on how to make, bring new products to my business. I'm interested in I'm thinking about starting making home sprays and not just making candles, because I'm learning that a lot of people rather not have a candle. So that's pretty much it. I've been testing my confidence in myself. When I went on vacation, I was randomly talking to people, letting them know what I was doing. I was able to sell a couple candles while I was down there. I brought some with me just to see if I can kind of put myself out there. I've walked to some people and say, hey, my name is Ayana. This is what I do, with candles on my hand, with my business card in my hand. And I've been successful and sold it so far. But like I said, I'm still learning myself. I'm still learning the business I'm still learning the business language and whatnot. And I basically came here today to kind of get hopes up with free on learning how to market, because I kind of ain't really good at marketing. I don't really keep up with my social media when it comes to the business page, because I'm not really great at selling myself. But I just came here to hear more things from a lot of you guys, and I'm kind of glad that I came on, and that's pretty much all I got to say.
That's fine, Ayana. Really, I didn't warn everybody they were going to have to introduce themselves, but it just seemed like a lost opportunity not to have people, right? There's some cool folks here. Amelia, you hopped on late. We're just having folks introduce themselves. Would you like to do that? If she can unmute. There you go.
Here we go. Hi, everyone. Amelia Sidlowski, Hillsdale, New York. I'm mentoring at this point, and I'm very excited about it. I guess you want to know my background a little bit.
Well, we're talking specifically about what your business is and potentially how networking has helped your business.
All right. Well, I did holistic facial rejuvenation for 30 years. And yes, networking made a big difference in my life, that people loved what I did and, brought their friends, their relatives. It was really a wonderful experience for me to be received that nicely. And so it made a big difference in how I wasn't really prepared to tell you about.
That's fine. I just didn't want to miss you.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Deborah.
No problem. Okay, so we have about 25 more minutes, and this is the part where hopefully there's some Q&A and dialogue for those of us who are hanging in and there. One of the things I think actually was brought up just by Ayana a second ago was kind of, how do you start networking if your idea isn't fully baked? Like, how do you start making the connections if you don't have something people can connect with, or it's still a work in progress? And I think that's a really good question worth exploring. So panelists, anybody?
I think just put yourself out there. I mean, a lot of the markets I've done and worked with vendors, they don't always have a fully baked concept, but they're building towards something and they're just getting their names out there, which is a great start. Even if they don't have everything lined up appropriately, they will still start meeting people and getting to know the community and just getting their name out there. I think that's the key to a lot of this.
Yeah.
A very good networking technique is to ask people for advice. People are always flattered when you ask for advice, and most of them are very willing to help. And if you ask them for something and they can't quite help you, you thank them for that, and then ask them, do you know of anybody else who might be interested in what I'm doing? And you have to accept some failures, but believe me, it works very, very well.
Yeah, Alan, I really love that advice. I actually want to tell you guys another networking story. I'm a master networker. I've been doing it for a really long time. And when I first became a business coach, I went and talked to all the other business coaches around, and people would say to me, they're your competitors. Like, why do you think that they're going to share or be open to meeting with you? And my point of view is there's enough business for everyone. You have to have an abundance mindset, and there's room for people to differentiate. I'm not going to be the same as everyone else, and they're not going to be the same as me. And honestly, there was one networking group I was invited to. This is a true story. I was invited to it by somebody else who was in it. It was one of those ones that met every week and you had to, show up and you had to give leads. I think those are a little bit draconian. I don't really love them myself, but I was disinvited from coming because the hypnotherapist who was in the group considered herself a business coach. And I'm like, okay. She doesn't have an MBA from Columbia. She doesn't have any coaching certification, but she thought she was a business coach. And so I was threatening to her. And you know what? If she's threatened, then I don't want to be in that group anyway. It wasn't appropriate. And you have to be willing to walk away if it's not the right thing. I'm not a big fan of those groups, but in general, I think most people are more than happy to share. And I think Alan's point of view is, hey, I'm new at this. What can you tell me? Or what do you think? Now, remember, some people will have a very strong point of view you will not agree with. I bet, Liam, of all the people you've talked to, some people want to change your business model. Oh, you know what you ought to do? Like, ignore them. Just say yes and smile and nod a lot. Keep your own counsel because, Serafina could probably get a bunch of beachfront family pictures with all wearing the same outfit, but that's not the business she wants to be in. So if someone gives her that advice, she smiles and she nods at them, right? Go ahead, Alan.
When I was coaching goalkeepers, I was at a convention, soccer convention in Philadelphia, and I met He's unfortunately died a few years ago, but Tony DeSica, who coached the women's team to the 1999 World Cup. And when I started talking to him, he said, you know, you and I are competitors. And I said, no, we're not. I said, you run summer camps and I coach during the week. And he said, you know, you're right. And we started sending each other people to each other's camps. So, you know, you just never know just by talking to people.
So I want to see if Serafina or Jennifer wants to answer the not fully baked question.
I think that the sentence, I'm really excited about my pre-launch startup, will open up a lot of ears. Just like, I'm really excited to tell you about this thing and we're going to be launching soon. So here's what it is. I mean, that's how you get around the pre-baked situation. You just tell people that it's coming and it's exciting and then tell them about it.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100% because, you know, I think I said it at the beginning of this call before everyone got on. I'm in the midst of starting another company. And every time I talk about my business, I'm like, yes, and I'm starting something else. And, you know, you have like this enthusiasm about yourself, like you radiate this different type of energy that I feel like people are more apt to talk to you about it. And, you know, to kind of tie all of that in when we talk about, you know, what's the words I'm looking for? I had them and I lost them. But, you know, being excited about your business and really trying to get that, you know, internal advice. And like you said, everybody's going to want to change what you have to say. My life advice to everyone is listen to the advice and don't listen to anybody's advice at all. And you got to go back to yourself, right? But I give this life advice to everyone. Don't listen to anybody else's advice because you want to hear what people have to say. Like, I want to hear what you have to say, but really listen to yourself when you're making those decisions. And I learned that from EforAll, you know, going through everything, listening to my mentors. We have great ideas, but in the end, it's a decision that we have to make as a business owner, right? So, and never get discouraged by what other people say because we control those outcomes, not them.
Well, and I think that most everyone who's been in an EforAll cohort will tell you there's probably a pivot in there somewhere, and it might not be something that you can possibly anticipate. I mean, Matthew found out that it was going to cost him what, $500,000 to have CBD treats. Yeah, that's a rude surprise. But you know what? He didn't quit. He pivoted. So, you know. But it doesn't mean he doesn't still need to make the connections. I mean, you still need to do the hard work of reaching out. The other thing that I think there is there's follow-up. I mean, Serafina, you win the prize literally today for the cards, but I've sent emails to several of these people I met Saturday. Do you have time to talk? Let's talk about what EforAll can do for you. And you have to put in the effort. I'm sure all of us have been to networking events where you met 20 people and you heard from not one of them. It's like, was this a game to collect business cards? Because if that's what it was, and then they added me to their email newsletter list without asking, you're not allowed to do that. That's illegal. It's called spam. And there's actually an act of Congress that prohibits you from doing it. You can ask them if you can add them, but you can't just do it. That's not the goal of a networking event.
I think Deborah's right. One thing I've learned before I did this is I worked with a lot of corporate people who are very busy, but very successful. And one thing I noticed about the most successful ones was they replied to every single email, whether or not they could answer the question you had at that moment. They always replied, and they would either say they'll get back to you. They just acknowledge your presence. And I've in the past 9 months having done this, even I've noticed that some people don't reply, and they're pretty much just going to be off my list. Even if they want something I can give them, they're just not being attentive. And I think it's just a good lesson and a good habit to get into, to respond even if you can't fulfill what they need immediately.
Or do what Alan does and send them to whoever it is that can help them, because they'll remember you for having, been thorough and followed up on it. Somebody else must have a question, not just Deborah's questions.
Hi, can I be allowed some time to introduce myself? I was disconnected when you guys
Please,
were doing
Jex, do so. Yes.
Hi, how's everyone doing?
Great.
I pulled over. So I am a youth advocate coach. and I made that up. I don't know if it's real, but that's what I'm
It's
going
real
with.
if you say it is, hon.
Yeah, so basically I've been working a lot with DCF, residential homes, parents or guardians of people who've been struggling with just kids right now. We know that the pandemic had an effect on us. People are forgetting what it's done to the youngins. So, you know, we've just been putting some clubs and some camps together. We've been charging a small fee. I know that there was a lot of talk of people. I think it was Jennifer and the guy that's doing the app or some website. If you can connect with me, I have some great ideas. And everyone here has some sort of skill. I can't reach all the kids. I have from, you know, your best behaved that's just struggling with something small to some very severe issues that I sometimes tap out. So whoever can connect with me on that, I love it.
Where are you located?
I'm out of Springfield, Massachusetts, but believe it or not, I'm actually going to Atlanta to do some stuff with this and Florida. So if anyone can help me put a bow on this, it'll be all love.
Now, did you come to us through the EforAll Holyoke site?
Yes, I did.
Great. Terrific. All right. Who has a question for our panel or for a discussion?
I have a question for the panelists. How do you go about virtual like networking? How has that been for you? Like, do you use certain like platforms? I know everybody is always saying, oh, you have to have LinkedIn and optimize it, but what works for you?
So I'm going to ask Susan, that's a great question. And I had it actually in my pre-formatted questions, but I want to ask two pieces of that. Is how do you find the people? And then how do you do the connections? Do you set up a phone call? Like, so Serafina, you talked about doing a lot of Zoom networking. How are you finding people to network with?
At this point, a lot of people just are posting on LinkedIn that they host or they attend certain networking events. I started by going to something called the Happy Neighborhood Project, which is an online networking platform. It's global. At this point, it's grown. They have so many meetings, it's impossible to attend them all. But early on, there only were a few, and it was a lot easier to keep up.
Can you give us the URL later?
Yes, I will type that in. And I met enough people through there that I started becoming linked with them on LinkedIn, and then they just grew. It's kind of snowball effect after that.
So the first part is finding them on a networking event, having sort of an offline conversation that says, can we talk further? And then making a half an hour appointment with them on Zoom or Google Meet or something to talk through who they are and who you are and how you can help each other. Okay. Jennifer, how did you use online networking?
Sorry, we're just trying to unmute. As far as online networking, you know, obviously it became so crucial, especially at the beginning of the pandemic. I actually started my own networking group. So I just took the initiative, I threw it out there and I said, hey, I'm just going to start this group. And it turned into, it was like a once a month thing, actually in person initially. And then we switched it to weekly. And I really think it helped everyone who joined the call to just get through the pandemic, because it gave someone, hey, you're in business, but you're also a mom, you're juggling 6 other things. This is real. And for us, like, you know, and there are a few people that are on this call that can vouch for that because they were part of that as well. And, you know, so it was throwing myself out there. But, you know, right back to Serafina, you know, I look and see what other people are posting. What groups are they in? What are they really saying? Speak to them, because some people will be like, oh, I'm going to this group, and other people like, oh my God, this is life-changing. I've met the best people. I tend to look for those because, you know, I want to find other people who have that same passion for connecting with other people.
I'm going to offer one piece of advice before we go to Liam to see how he's doing it. Is I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, and when I get a LinkedIn message saying, I see that you're a coach and you probably need to fill your sales pipeline, can I set up an appointment on your schedule? It's like, I'm sorry, that's spam now. That's the new version of spam, and it's not personal, it's not thoughtful. If they haven't really read my LinkedIn profile to see I work at full-time as an executive director of EforAll, they definitely aren't somebody who I really want to spend any time with. But that's not really connecting, and that's not a genuine connection. That's just a spam sales call. So Liam, how did online work for you? I know that CosQuest is an in-person thing, but you must have had to build the network working virtually, right?
Yeah, I mean, I really need to step up my LinkedIn and Facebook game, but Instagram has really been great for me. So I'm sort of building my network like one business at a time. I, just started following a million people just to kind of get a feel for what was going on in the community, who are the popular businesses, who needs help, what online businesses exist. And I just reach out through there. I haven't done a lot of group effort, social networking type stuff. But like you said, my events are kind of those moments, those opportunities to kind of reach a broader audience. But yeah, Instagram has been great for me. It's really
But I think that your point is that you have to make contacts one at a time. That's how real relationships are built, right? Maybe if you're having a cup of coffee with 3 or 4 other people, you could connect with them. But if you're doing virtual things, that's kind of the way it works. I mean, that's real life. So I also think you have to give people a chance to get to know you and to build to that, which is why Jennifer's regular meetings are great. And, Serafina talked about, people telling other people. You have to establish those relationships before they want to do those referrals. So, Susan, did that answer the online question, or do you want to ask anything more about it?
No, that all makes sense. I really like that point, Liam, about one business at a time. I feel like that's where I'm at, and I'm learning to understand the process of like CRM so that I can follow up in a systematic way. But I love like tailored responses and things of that nature. So, this was insightful because like I use LinkedIn, like I like to share information, but I don't necessarily use it to, I guess I'm a soft seller to sell business. It's more so people I connect with like on Instagram and Twitter. Those tend to be the platforms where people tend to be most responsive for me. But I'll look more into like LinkedIn as well. Thank you.
Yeah, but I think that the point is that you can identify the folks that you want to be talking to, but you still need to talk to them. It's not like you can hide behind Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram and Twitter. Ultimately, if I'm going to do a referral to Serafina, I need to talk to her. I need to look at her work. I need to ask her some questions about it. And I think reminding yourself that that's the fundamentals of a business relationship and referral sources hasn't changed, even if the way that we find those people and connect with those people initially has had to go online because of the way the world is now.
I will say, I use Calendly. That's something that I set up. I use the free version of HubSpot and Calendly. So I offer 15-minute like grant seeker clarity calls to like everybody so that we could just have a chance, and it's like free to kind of network and get to know each other, and then we take it from there.
That's always a good idea. That's just a tool, right? It doesn't take the place of actually inviting and connecting with someone, but it's a great tool to use. All right, we're gonna wrap up soon. So I want to see if there are any other questions from you terrific folks who have stayed on here with us for the duration of the call, or do the panelists have anything they want to summarize or say about networking and their wisdom that they want to share with everyone?
I was on a call this morning at 8 o'clock in the morning. There was a person on the call I hadn't met before. We were just chatting, and he mentioned that he's an EforAll mentor. And I was like, oh my God, I am an EforAll alum. So that was the first step for he and I having a conversation. And we hadn't met before, and I didn't know he was in the EforAll network. So this network is huge. I just want to, if you're scared to start, like really start at home, because they're everywhere.
And the EforAll thing will get people to take a phone call, to connect with you, to become your friend on LinkedIn. It's a commonality that you all have. And if you don't have it yet, Erin, we'll get you in the network. And Lunara, you're in the EforAll community, even if you're not an alumni. Jennifer, did you want to say something?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. To, kind of summarize everything like you were saying with networking and just bringing it all together is just don't give up. Wherever you are in business, whatever you're doing, just keep doing it. Just try to, every day, try to make a connection, try to step outside of your comfort zone. If you're on this call and, you've been thinking about going to a networking meeting, do it. Even if it's just virtual, then to get yourself in person, do a virtual call, connect with somebody, go to an in-person networking group. I think someone said it before, I think it was Vaughn. She's like that, I'm really not extroverted, but everybody thinks I am. I do a lot of speaking events and I talk to a lot of people, and I actually strongly dislike doing it sometimes. I have to step out of my comfort zone to do it. But the reason why I do it is because it does terrify me. And, it makes me feel more comfortable. The more and more you do it, the better you're going to feel, and you're going to grow your business organically. You're not going to have to advertise as much because word of mouth is stronger than any bit of advertising that you have.
I'm going to add a PS to your thing, Jennifer. If you're not feeling it, and we all have days, right? Your kid has been up all night and been puking and you just don't have it, and give yourself a pass. If you're not going to be playing your A game, don't do it. If you have to reschedule something, reschedule it. If you can't bring your game day face and your A game, don't do it. And it's okay. If you want, I'll issue you the permission slip myself. It's okay. All right, Liam, you got any parting comments for us?
I just want to second everything Jennifer said. Just have the confidence to go out there, even if it's not your comfort zone. Put yourself there. This isn't my comfort zone, but I put myself out here today. And it's been great. Hearing all these stories is inspiring. And don't be afraid to ask for what you want. A lot of what I've done is I've tried to kick open my own doors, making cold calls, making the connections that I think I need to get to where I want to go. So just don't be afraid and do it.
Matthew, I see a hand raised. Did you want to ask a question?
No, I just wanted to, I think Leanne is absolutely correct. Like, we all are scared to, to put ourselves out there, and some less than others. But yeah, if you just do it, everybody else feels the same way. And, it's one of those things. You just got to force yourself to do it. Just take it out.
I just want to throw something out that I find very successful from all the different things I do. Failure is a stepping stone to success.
That's great. Ayana, I see a hand raised. Did you want to say something else?
Yes, I just want to thank you guys for all your words of encouragement. Because for a while I was beating myself up because I had took a mental break. It was to the point I was looking at my candle stuff and I was like, I don't even want to do this no more. I think I want to do something else. But yeah, your words of encouragement saying it doesn't matter if you got to give yourself a pass. Just don't give up. That's something I needed to hear. I haven't got a chance to join this type of meeting, and something told me to get on it today. And I'm just glad that I listened to my inner self, because I'm walking away with the fact that don't beat yourself up. Just keep going. Just keep going. It's the getting up that counts, not the falling down. So I appreciate your words of encouragement.
We're delighted to encourage you. And Jennifer, you're right. I didn't see your hand because it did fade into your background. Go ahead.
Okay, I fade into white paper too, so it's okay, it's fine. So there was one thing, it's actually kind of counterintuitive to what we're all saying here, but it literally just recently happened to me within the last week. So if you find yourself in a networking group that is not working for you, I happened to find one that was very, very cliquey, and just wasn't, and it took me over a year to really realize what the heck was going on, is to give yourself the permission to leave. And I did it very, very politely. I blamed my daughter's school schedule, and I left the group because there was, I believe, Deborah, you had mentioned earlier about somebody who was, not scared of you, but I'm having trouble finding the right word. I had mentioned in passing one time, just as a hobby thing, that I had become an ordained minister and that I did weddings. And immediately after the meeting, I got a phone call from one of the board members. You can't talk about that. And then and then another one of the board members wanted me to change my website because it said I do website development. And one of the other people in the group did that. I'm like, no.
Yeah. So this works in all business relationships, that I will tell you, if it doesn't start off feeling authentic and like it's going to work, it isn't going to get better. So if you are going to close a sale and the person is arguing about, a 50-cent charge, it's only going to get worse. It's not going to get better. So listen to your gut and stay with the groups where people are open, welcoming, have an abundance in their heart and want to see everyone succeed. And the ones that aren't, do what you have to do to politely find other better people. I don't think you'll find that in an EforAll network. I think we're all people of abundance, but find your folks, and networking won't be hard, and it will open doors and lead to success. So next month, we will be talking about filling your sales pipeline. I hope you'll check out our Ask the Experts program. And if you don't know about our EforAll programs because you're new, check us out. Thank you all for joining me for this deep dive. It was recorded. I'll send you all the recording as well as the slide deck. I hope you caught all of the chat and everybody's links in the chat, because I hope we can all support each other. Thank you, panelists, Liam, Jennifer, Serafina, and all of you for staying with me. Good night and goodbye.
Thank you.